Alright, for some reason it wasn't letting me do something, so we'll get back to it. Start over, shall we? Anyways, I'm doing a video today on redlining. Pretty much the housing issues that's been going on. And anyways, because of that, I'm gonna start over, and that's a good thing about my channel is I guess I can do what I want. So at least I got it fixed, and I can sit here and watch along with you guys a little better than I was earlier. We're doing a video on redlining. Basically, redlining is well, they're going to explain it better in the video. By the way, it's the root is the channel. Please go over there, like, subscribe, follow them up. This video they did was back in 2019. So it was right before the pandemic. It was April. So it's probably worse now than it was then. So let's go ahead and get to this video and give you a little insight here of what I've been kind of looking up and studying on, finding videos for, and trying to find the right ones so I can get the right information out there to you guys. We live in public housing right now, and I can tell you right now they keep it to where you can't get out, can't save up to get out. It's not easy. We've had two different incidences with the gun 2 years apart, so I don't know. There we go. We'll start with the video.
Are you looking for a new neighborhood to live in? Then come on down to Redlining Realty, sanctioned by the U.S. government. There's depressed infrastructure, underfunded schools, no white people. They're all in the suburbs. Heck, we'll even throw in free shoes. Now, doesn't that sound nice? Call Redlining Realty today, and we'll get you a house built on the most American foundation of all, racism. Today's baggage, redlining. Before we get into this BS policy called redlining that created housing segregation and pretty much jacked up the American dream for black folks, let's take it back to the 1930s. America is in the thick of the Great Depression, and y'all, it was bad. Around 1/5 of the country was unemployed, and nearly everyone was dirt poor. Along comes FDR with his New Deal. Dude was trying to revitalize the American economy, which created what we now call the middle class. But not so fast. FDR's New Deal would cement racial inequality in America for generations to come, and birthed two programs that enforced housing segregation: the Public Works Administration and the Homeowners Loan Corporation, known today as the Federal Housing Administration. The PWA created affordable housing, and surprise, surprise, the agency created separate public housing for black and white folks, greatly segregating cities. Now let's talk about the Federal Housing Administration. The FHA created low-interest mortgages to build homes across the country. This agency actually built the suburbs as we know it. They basically said, hey banks, if someone applies for a mortgage, go ahead, build them a house. Even if they don't pay you back, we'll still guarantee a loan, unless they're black. The FHA's manual literally prohibited the occupancy of properties except by the race for which they are intended. But before we go any further, let me call on a friend to break down the legacy of redlining. The world-renowned white peopleologist from the roots, Michael Harriot.
What's up?
He's a nerd IRL. He's earned a master's degree in macro.
Alright, in case you guys are just now coming in here and watching the video, please hit the like. Please share the video. And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the bell. This is my first video I'm doing pretty much like this. Hopefully I get to do more. Excuse me. Had to sneeze. Anyways. Basically, I'm doing a video on redlining. Because Cass did a video on Chicago's problem is basically all drawn down to this right here is redlining. He did one on Chicago's issues. It has a lot to do with the failed housing plan and the way they did it. It's called redlining. That's why I'm doing this video, so everybody gets a little more heads up of what redlining is on our side of the perspective, on the minority side of the ball here. So that way, because there's some other people in here that's on the other side of the ball that, yeah, they don't break it down as well as we can understand it. So I found the best video that I could find to pretty much break it down like ghetto terms that I would understand a hell of a lot better than some others could understand. You know what I'm saying? Most of my followers will understand. So let's get back to this video. Please like the video, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed. Don't forget to hit that bell. Continue.
Macroeconomics, and even taught race as an economic construct to some college kids. What's good?
Feliz, what's going on? Good to see you in these Unpack That screeds.
How are these racist government policies tie into what we now call redlining?
The term came about because the federal government, Uncle Sam them, created color-coded maps that told banks where they could give out housing loans. The green sections were a go, whereas the red sections, typically where black people lived, were deemed too risky. Even well-off black neighborhoods like Sugar Hill in Harlem, where black people like Zora Neale Hurston and Duke Ellington lived, were off limits to banks. Aside from financial barriers, there were actual physical barriers to prevent black people from living in white neighborhoods. In the early 1940s, there was a 6-foot-high wall in Detroit because redlining, and it's still there today. The Fair Housing Act put an end to redlining in 1968, but we know it ain't go down like that. Banks across the country have been caught using redlining maps as recently as 2015. And get this, most redlined areas are still low-income black and brown neighborhoods.
So FDR's New Deal pretty much screwed over generations of black folks to come? How else has redlining impacted black folks?
There's plenty, but 3 really stick out: wealth, education, and criminal justice. First, let's talk about wealth. For y'all who don't know, home ownership is the primary driver of wealth. And who has a harder time getting homes?
Black people?
Bingo. Even when home ownership is an option, homes in black neighborhoods are, on average, valued around 25% lower than homes in white neighborhoods. This is the case across the board, even if the homes and neighborhoods are similar.
So off the bat, homes in black neighborhoods are less valuable.
Yep, and the plot thickens. People in redline neighborhoods pay higher insurance premiums, they also pay higher interest rates, and are denied mortgages more often.
Hold up. We get a lot of our school funding through local property taxes. I bet that redlining impacts.
All right, people, listen close. They're going to talk about the education part of it with the taxes. This is where it breaks down a little more simpler about why the education is not that great in a lot of these places and why it's a little harder for us to get out once we're in.
Has education too. How does that all work?
Let me ask a genius who can answer that question.
Yes, Michael, I am a genius.
No, not you. I mean Nicole Hanna-Jones. She's the recipient of the MacArthur Genius Grant and knows education like the back of our hand. See, I can hit her up on our special genius hotline. Funny, I don't see your name on the list. Nicole, tell our girl how redlining has impacted education.
We get most of our school funding through local property tax. That meant that black cities cannot produce as much money as white suburbs, which can tax at a very low rate on high property tax. And so you see vast disparities between how suburban schools that serve lots of white kids are funded and urban schools that serve lots of black and Latino kids are funded. And that all goes back to the legacy of redlining.
Wow. Did the Fair Housing Act help at all?
Once redlining and discrimination in lending and housing became illegal in 1968, we didn't rejigger all of the property values that had been directly related to redlining, which put a premium on white communities and put a much lower property value rate on black communities. It's not like we started from scratch and equalized all of these property values. We just continue to watch white communities accumulate more and more wealth and black communities be deprived. And of course, that's going to impact how schools can be funded.
Are there any places where we can really see the effects of redlining on education?
One place where you can really see this play out probably in the most oppressive way would be the city of Detroit, home to the most unequal school funding border in the country. And that's the border between Grosse Pointe, which is very, very wealthy and almost entirely white.
And during my weeks of doing my studying on this and research, Detroit has come up a lot. And it's crazy because it's like day and night when you look at the schools, school systems in Detroit. So yeah, when you get a chance, look them up. Look up Detroit and look up their school systems. One school's right next to the other school, and it's got an Olympic pool and everything in it. The other school is falling apart around them, like literally. Let's get back to the video.
Which borders right on Detroit. The schools in Detroit are falling apart, and the schools in Grosse Pointe, one of them has marble floors.
Thanks, Nicole. That was a lot.
The cycle doesn't end there. Redlining, education, and criminal justice are all related. Let me take you on a trip to one of my favorite cities, Baltimore. Here is the original 1937 redlining map of Baltimore. Even though blacks and whites use illegal drugs at about the same rates, black people are 3 times more likely to be arrested. And where do you think they go to fight this war on drugs?
I've seen The Wire. They go to the hood.
See the red areas on the map? That's the
Pay attention, folks. This is where it gets a little more intense. They start talking about how our areas are more patrolled, and it's no lie. We have a private. It's owned privately, and we still have the sheriffs, the county sheriffs that come down and they patrol every. We see them at least once a day, and it's a private parking lot. We don't ask. They're not supposed to be here unless they're called, but they still show up. And sometimes they'll just say that they had a call out here that they were tending to, and that's their answer. So, get back to the video, because this is where it gets real good.
The forbidden neighborhoods, remember? Now let's look at this data of marijuana arrests between January 2013 and October 2014. Here are the heroin arrests and the crack arrests. Drug arrests and poverty are almost exclusively contained in the redlined areas. Isn't that remarkable?
You pronounced racist wrong.
And getting out of jail ain't any easier. In Maryland, 13 of the 15 zip codes with the highest bills are in Baltimore's redlined neighborhoods.
Damn.
Yeah, so basically redlining created poor neighborhoods, which led to underfunded schools, more poverty, and more black people in prison.
Let me guess. And the cycle continues?
Like a dog chasing its tail.
So the hood ain't the hood because black people made it the hood. Rather, it was intentionally created by the government to oppress black people through a federal policy that would adversely impact them for generations to come.
Precisely. And there's more, but that's all we had time for in this here video. Almost every quantifiable indicator of white supremacy all lead back to the government-sanctioned policy of redlining.
Michael, you just ruined my whole day. This is the last time I invite you to this show. Bye, Michael.
Everybody, please go like, subscribe, share. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell so you can get more videos. I'm coming out with some more. I do plan on doing more videos. I'm not finished yet. I have one more video I want to play that I found. So we're going to jump over to that one. It's alright video. Please go follow the route. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. I'm going to subscribe now just so you guys can see it. And I'm going to hit the bell right there just like that. That's how you do it. Like the video. Yes. That's how you do it right there. Let's do the same thing here. Extra credits. We're going to watch the video. Of course, I'll do the like and subscribe right after we're
Redlining is
watching
defined
it.
as the withholding of services,
So let's
financial
go.
and otherwise, based on race or ethnicity. It's also sometimes been described as a giant racist octopus spreading its tentacles throughout the black community. An apt comparison, given the level of damage it's caused. The foundation for redlining was laid out before the abolishment of slavery, as freed blacks found themselves handicapped by laws, keeping them from benefiting from government programs. One of the first such laws was the Homestead Act of 1862, which excluded blacks and non-whites from government housing initiatives. This, along with the acceptability of racism and the threat of violence if they were caught somewhere white supremacists thought they shouldn't be, kept them locked down in the racially designated parts of their respective cities. Then, in 1932, as the country struggled amidst the Great Depression, the government enacted the Federal Home Loan Bank Act, which authorized the Homeowners Loan Corporation to draw up maps and apply a coding system to designate which areas should receive loans. Some neighborhoods would be labeled A for affluent, while others would be marked D for declining. And getting declined is exactly what would happen when black people from those neighborhoods would apply for home loans. And the maps were specific about the racial makeup of the neighborhoods within every U.S. city, with the color red being used for black and other minority populated areas. Anyone in a redlined neighborhood would automatically be considered a risky investment, even if their income and creditworthiness was equal to or more than that of a white person in a green or a blue zone. Then the wealth gap was born. In 1933, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt, in an effort to pull a tanked U.S. economy out of the Great Depression, signed off on the New Deal. It was a multi-agency initiative that was supposed to provide relief for millions of unemployed and the American agricultural industry. It was meant to reinvigorate the American middle class, and for some, it succeeded. Many previously poverty-stricken white families were able to buy homes, build suburban communities, and surround themselves with beauty and prosperity. Unfortunately, however, with the color coding system in place, the New Deal miserably failed the African American community. While the Federal Housing Administration and the Veterans Administration would back $120 billion in loans, but
No, that's a lot of money in that amount of years. Federal housing gave out that much money. Veterans and for housing. You guys want to take a guess on where that went? Well, let's check it out. Let's see where it went.
between 1934 and 1962, 98% of that money would go to white families, and less than 2% of it to blacks and other minorities. And being able to buy and build homes meant that those white families were able to accumulate wealth that would be used to send their kids to college and pass down a legacy of wealth and property ownership. Without access to this generous helping hand, minority families and communities would struggle in ways that were unheard of by their white counterparts. And as if another barrier to progress was needed, many of these flourishing white suburban neighborhoods, like the infamous Levittown, Pennsylvania, would enact covenants that forbid the sale of any neighborhood property to blacks. Even if a black person did get a homeowner's loan, it would typically be for a property in their redlined neighborhood, which meant the home would be undervalued and the mortgage attached to a higher interest rate. Insurance was also higher, ultimately decreasing the home's estimated investment worth, or equity, making it harder to maintain and keep out of foreclosure. But leaving people incapable of homeownership and business loans is only one tentacle of this problem. This is a
Offer your customers
No, I
local
don't have
pickup when you
YouTube
start
Red.
selling online with Shopify.
I do have ads. Sorry, but that's how it goes.
The racist octopus, remember. As any neighborhood becomes wealthier, so does its surroundings, thanks at least in part to the influx of cash generated from property taxes. In a neighborhood with good tax revenue, local hospitals have access to the latest in medical advancements, meaning residents there get to live longer, healthier lives. Supermarkets are more conveniently located, well-stocked, and filled with fresh quality produce. Small businesses thrive, providing an overall source of neighborhood pride. And most important of all, schools are better funded and located, ultimately setting up those kids for multiple chances to succeed in life. Meanwhile, in the redlined areas, underfunded hospitals are overrun, as heart disease, cancer, asthma, and diabetes ravage a stressed-out community at much higher rates. There's limited access to affordable food with any nutritional value, as many of these supermarket chains seem to have instituted their own version of redlining. And in turn, this lack of service in low-income areas has created what the Department of Agriculture calls food deserts all across the country.
Which is eventually going to cause a hunger issue with the food shortage and the way they're jacking the prices up on the food. This is the cause of food shortage, and it's gonna get a little worse than it's gonna before it's gonna get better. I just hope everybody's preparing for themselves for it. We actually went and got 2 generators, a solar powered one and a gas powered one, just in case. So just stay prepared, people. I want to keep this going. So hope you guys enjoyed the video so far. Please don't forget to hit the like, share, subscribe if you're not subscribed, hit the bell, turn all your notifications on, because I will be putting in some more videos out for sure. One about a secret society that everybody doesn't like to talk about. I'm going to talk about it. But back to the video.
And as the years melt into decades, the adults pass this struggle on to their children, who not only have to endure the usual trappings of adolescence, but often do so in a disillusioning and dangerous environment. One of our country's more glaring disparities can be found in the state of Michigan, where the schools in Detroit are literally falling apart around the students' heads, while only a few miles away, Grosse Pointe South High School has marble floors, an Olympic-sized swimming pool, and other non-crumbling amenities. Of course, it makes sense if you consider that as the schools rise in worth, so do the neighboring homes and vice versa. Redlining was then made illegal by the Fair Housing Act of 1962. However, the property values were never reconfigured, so the properties in urban neighborhoods are still grossly undervalued. Even worse, banks have been caught redlining as recently as 2015, with little to no consequences. This lack of accountability led to reverse redlining in the form of predatory lending, providing loans with conditions the banks know the borrowers will not be able to meet that targeted black families and contributed mightily to the economic collapse of 2008. And all over the country, redlined areas are also the focal point of intense police scrutiny, prompting increased and unnecessary interaction with law enforcement based on where someone may or may not live. Despite the fact that illegal drug use is statistically the same among all races, black people are 3 times more likely to be arrested or at least stopped by the police. For a quick illustration of this, literally only 1 of the 4 people who worked on this episode has ever been stopped and frisked. And if your guess was SVP, well, that just means you've been listening. Now, this begs the question, has anyone ever tried to fight redlining? The answer is yes. Affluent blacks all over the country either protested or created workarounds, sometimes by amassing wealth and buying properties outright. Of course, in those cases, the KKK would show up and burn a cross in front of said property, like they did to black orchestra leader George Morrison, who would endure 3 separate cross burnings when he ventured too far from Denver's now historic 5 Points neighborhood. And then there was Daisy Myers, who we referenced at the beginning of this episode. Regarded as the Rosa Parks of the North, she with her husband William and their 3 children bravely stood their ground in 1957 in the all-white neighborhood of Levittown, Pennsylvania, enduring months of racist harassment until the local authorities finally stepped in. As for modern efforts, organizations like the Greenlining Institute based in Oakland, California, are pushing for the kind of reforms previously redlined neighborhoods could benefit from. And you can find out more info on them and how you can help in the description below. The problem is, redlining has already done tremendous damage to those families and communities who found themselves shunned and their dreams deferred. And even when caught red-handed redlining, the banking industry seldom suffers any consequences outside of bad press. This is why a wealth gap exists between whites and American minorities that may never be closed. In fact, it's estimated that even if racism were to somehow magically go away today, it would take 200 years for us to see anything that resembles real economic equality. So if you ever find yourself looking down on someone because of where they live or where they come from, you should rethink that. Because it turns out that while some of us got a helping hand, many others received nothing but a slap in the face. Once again, thanks so much to Child and Teen Checkups Program of Minnesota.
So what you guys think? And right here's the website right here that you guys can go to. Here's the greenlining.org. You guys can look up about the greenlining, what they're doing in California, which I think is great. We need to reverse the redlining. We need to do it now. I mean, it's going to take a while before it even gets fixed, but worth a shot in the dark. Well, I'm going to end this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please hit that like button. Don't forget to share. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. Hit that subscribe button. This is how you do it right here. Look. You hit that like. Just like that. You hit the subscribe. Just like that. Hit the bell, all notification, boom, just like that. See? That easy. That easy. That's all I need right there. Just all that love right there is all I need. No money, no cash app. I ain't asking for none of that. Just like, subscribe, hit the bell, and don't forget to share if you want to share it. If you think it's something that people need to see or need to hear, please share it. That's why I had to do my own video. Mix it up a little bit. Get my own little sauce on it. But hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm going to do another video about a lot of the corruption and stuff that you guys really don't know, or some of you guys really don't care to know. But I'm going to put it out there anyways, just because I don't give a damn. It's my channel and I do what I want. This is Spadezilla.